Not yet. Still waiting.
There we go.
Here we are.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick. Probably have seen me in the Discord chat posting some announcements and stuff. And here with me is Martin. Can you wave, Martin?
I'm just trying to...
and Nikki.
I'm just trying to figure out the screen. 1 second. There we go.
And Fabian. Yay. So we're here to talk to you guys about Populous and the release that just happened and answer any questions that you might have. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So I just have a few icebreaker questions. So the first question is, how was the idea for Populous? How did it first come about? Like, whose idea was it and how did it get started?
Who's going to answer that? It's
you, of course, you're the boss.
I have to do the first icebreaker question. Okay. Yeah, how did it come about? I mean, it's just essentially if for anyone who follows our development roadmap, there's always been an item on there called the population simulation, and the idea that the populations or the workforces in Prosperous Universe have a bit more life of their own is a very old one. Like, it's been around ever since Prosperous Universe existed. Actually, initially when we started working on this and we were about to implement the first version of the workforces, they work quite differently in that the workforces were actually simulated populations that would act on the market themselves. Like, you would pay them money, like in terms like wages, and they would use that money to buy the stuff that they want. Because back then we were more focused on the whole closed loop economy thing. But we quickly realized that's too, I don't know, it's too hard to balance. It's probably too easy to game. So we moved away from that and implemented the workforces the way we see them today. But the idea that we wanted to have some kind of population simulation in there has always been around or never went away, because obviously the populations, they bring demand for new materials, and they are a resource sink, obviously, for materials of an arbitrary complexity. So for that reason, we always wanted to have something like that in the game, and that's kind of where this came from. Now we thought it would be a good time to do this, to move forward into mid-game content, basically.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
I've been watching Community a lot lately, so
yeah. I'm in this chat. It's my first live stream for all those of you who are curious. So if I do something that you don't like, please go easy on me.
Cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
Cheers.
With my water.
It's very healthy. It's a very healthy option.
Okay, let's see what other questions. So how do you guys think that the update will enrich the player experience?
Michi.
No, it's my turn. First and foremost, there's a whole new series of production chains that need to be managed. So the population infrastructure projects have upkeep that needs to be met, and of course they need to be built. So there will be, the people will have to invest in those supply chains. And we made it in a way that, Fabian, please correct me if I'm wrong, but for example, the safety station upkeep materials can be built with pioneers only, so new players can actually support their local population quite easily. And of course, the higher the infrastructure projects go, the more complex the logistics get in the end. And eventually it will make the planets more distinguishable. There might be a planet which has a great governor who's trying to keep everything working and keep the population happy, and there might other planets where this doesn't go so well. So I really look forward to see how the planets evolve, and I think it will give the planets more character, if one can say so.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. All right. Do you think any players will become frustrated that they have to consider the workforce satisfaction?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, and that is what we're currently seeing. Populous is like reducing the overall efficiency of all production lines, because there's the need to produce the upkeep, and of course, if the upkeep is not met, the efficiency goes down, or you don't have the required workforce, and so everything is a bit slower right now. And of course, some players don't like that. It's obviously a change, and it's a huge change. But we have had changes like that in the past, so I'm pretty confident that our player base will adapt really quickly.
Yeah, I think so too.
And also, I think we had to kind of make that change in the current world to really get some impressions on how the feature works with a universe that's in the state that we're in right now. If we set everything to the beginning, then we wouldn't really know how Populous works out if we have an active universe with a developed economy and all. And we would have to wait months and months before we can actually really test it. And it's really, with the kind of game we're making, it's hard to test stuff, and it's even harder to test complex new features. So yeah, I think it definitely made sense to introduce it at this point. And yeah, I think there are already some good ideas on how to deal with it floating around in the Discord and stuff. So I think, yeah, players will learn to live with it and manage it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? And you guys in the audience or in the chat, like, feel free to ask any questions. So just let me know. Let's see. So why was the population reports generated every 7 days? Like, why was that decided?
I can't answer that.
Me neither, but a week just feels right. So, I mean, we have fast upkeeps and slow upkeeps. The fast ones are every day, and the slow ones every week. And I think we decided that a week would be something that, yeah, I don't know. That just feels right.
I think you get a little more data. Like if you're a governor, for example, and it would be every day, then you would check every day and adjust the numbers every day, and players would have needed to get used to new infrastructure levels every day, basically, and that's a little too much, I think. But a week feels fine, and you still get the nice population graphs that go up and down over time with the weekly dots. And yeah, it's just not too long, not too short. Is probably the answer.
Yeah, I feel so too. I mean, the business weeks are weeks as well, and anything that's longer than a week really starts to feel really slow very fast. So I'm not sure. Yeah, 7 just is natural.
Yeah, we do have one question about it. That Psychotic said, is it possible to generate a continuous population report? I don't know if you guys can see this as well. Is there a technical reason that it has to be a periodic report?
Oh, that's something for Martin.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Which angle do you think I should be discussing on this?
The technical reason, because everything is in steps, really. The simulation can only be in steps because of our architecture in the backend. So the game is based on events, And if we have something that is scheduled like for every minute, then we will write an event to the database every minute. So we tend to design the systems around timestamps at which something will actually change, and then just write this event into the database and not continuously.
That said, I'm guessing that an interpolation for the current period would most likely be possible.
It would be possible, yeah.
Probably just haven't done that yet. So.
But it would just another view of the data. It wouldn't really add anything. There would be no ups and downs in between the simulation points, so to speak.
Also, kind of, if you think about, like, I mean, that's not really the reason, obviously, but if you think from a more realistic perspective, you can see those reports as something that in the real world would be official statistics. And obviously you don't get them on a daily basis either. Like, you get them usually once a year, sometimes 2 years later than they actually happen. So we're doing pretty well compared to most governments.
Okay, let's see. Getting off the population report subject. What was the most difficult aspect in Populous to implement?
Releasing it?
Probably releasing it. Yeah, that was difficult. I mean, the simulation itself was, I think, was the most difficult part. So maybe that's a little insight in our process, but it went like this. We had the general idea that we wanted to do the Populous release, and we had an idea what it should be about. And then Fabian sat down and designed the whole Populous system in an Excel sheet, basically. And then he made it even a bit interactive, so we could gauge what's going on, what the numbers will be. At that time, I also implemented a reporting tool that would report back the current populations, so the sum of all workforces in the basis, so we get an idea of what bigger populations we are actually talking about. And at one point, Fabian handed his design documents over to me, and I started implementing it. And then, of course, it went the usual way. We tested it locally, then we tested it on our testing server, and then we released it.
We even had one additional step this time. I think first you just basically reprogrammed the simulation only, like outside of the game. So it spit out these Excel sheets, and then we could test if it fit to the spreadsheet I created.
Yeah.
And then it was put into the game in the next step.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question from Gravy 2007. He says, not trying to cut the current chat off, but curious about thoughts about how per meter area seems to be the main game area versus the other two exchanges.
Everyone needs food, right? I mean, that's kind of isn't that, I would like I have never analyzed it, but I'm guessing that's probably the core reason, right?
Yeah, and I think in the greater Promethean area, there are just many useful planets. And maybe to get onto Peter Pan's question, was the current universe handcrafted or randomly generated? It kind of goes into that. So the universe was randomly generated, and then we decided, obviously, where we want to have the starter planets and all the other planets of the factions around. And then we kind of placed certain key resources in these areas. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the new resources actually landed near the Promethean area, so they got lucky, because we didn't hand place the bioreactive minerals and the lithium ore this time. So they just got lucky and played into the Prometheus, the center of the universe theme.
Maybe there's just some kind of bias in the code.
Maybe.
It's in the code.
Yeah, but that wasn't intentional. The placement of the resources. Yeah. For the future, we wanted to go more to a handcrafted universe.
Cool. Let's see.
I mean, there have been a few questions on the chat about scientists.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good question. Have we discussed this yet, team?
The scientists?
The scientist situation? Or have you commented on it? I think the gist of the question is it like, will it be possible to have planets with scientist populations, or will it be prohibitively expensive to do that? Like to have a single purpose scientist-only world or something like that. Sorry if I butchered your questions, people, but I think that's what I got from them.
Well, the intention is that it's of course possible to have scientists on planets. I think, like, intentionally, we didn't reveal everything about how the population develops and how it shifts between tiers, because the scientists and engineers can actually only be created by educating the lower tiers, basically, and they also get bonuses in how quickly they move up the tiers if you build more educational infrastructure like universities and museums and stuff. And of course, it should be possible to get scientists going. If it's not, then we'll need to tweak the numbers, obviously.
Yeah, but I don't think it's possible right now to have this lonely science outposts where only scientists live, right?
Yes, unless you basically remove all the low tier infrastructure once the scientists are there. But you basically need to get started from the lower tiers. Yeah.
That sounds like an interesting project. GDP, anyone listening?
Yeah, I think the discussion or these points came up very early in the design of this feature, and I think, like, because someone just asked on the chat, will there be immigration between planets? Yeah. I think there are a lot of options in the future of how this feature could be made more interesting, and how we could enable the science outpost secret base somewhere at the edge of the universe where they do fancy science or whatever. But in that initial version right now, you have to climb the whole ladder, I think. Buying and selling.
Buying and selling workers.
I mean, our workforces are already kind of slaves, right? They don't get actually paid. They only get food and housing, which is kind of a bit of a backward concept, I think, if you think about it.
Okay, let's see. So just one of my questions that I had, like, why did you give controls to the governors for the upkeep of projects where the levels can be reduced or increased for the Populous release?
I mean, the role of the governors was always a topic that we wanted to tackle, and we wanted to strengthen the role of the governors and the influence they can have on their planet. And up to now, it wasn't really possible to manage a planet well or manage it badly. Like, you could raise or lower the taxes, I guess, but most people just put them on the lowest value and that's it. And with the option to raise and lower the levels of the infrastructure, you can have governors that do that really well, or that don't care and just do it inefficiently, because it really, you really have to watch your population reports closely to get an idea of how much need satisfaction you need in every area, and then you really only want to set it to the level that you need, because if you set it higher, then people contribute too much, and you can't go above 100% happiness. So you're kind of wasting resources, and you don't want to put it too low, because then happiness suffers. So yeah, it'll be kind of like, yeah, you have to gauge the situation every week and adjust. And we want to add more features to the governance in the future, of course, but that's the first step in the direction of making planet management interesting.
Let's see. We have Peter Pan asking, are there any plans for a future universe? For example, numbers of planets, distances between factions, exploration, hidden info, etc.
Yes.
Mostly, yes. Of course, we have ideas
Yes.
about the future, how the future universes will look like. And since we're in an alpha state, we want to try out a few things. And one of the things is, of course, to have a greater distance between the factions. Right now, flying from one commodity exchange to another is a thing of a day or so. And in a future universe, the distance might be twice or even 3 times the size. We'll see. And one of my favorite topics is exploration, and we want to incorporate that into the game, but currently there are no active plans on how we do that. One example I always like to bring up, because exploration is a thing. For example, if you have to explore all the star systems or all the planets, then this will be pretty much done within a couple of weeks or a month or so, and then the whole feature falls apart. So we're currently looking into in another way how to implement exploration. And one thing, for example, could be that you could have a specially equipped ship that can scan down for valuable asteroids, and the location of the asteroid is then only known to you, and you can explore it or just sell the information about the location. And of course, there would be an unlimited amount of such asteroids, for example.
Okay, so we're going back to the governor topic, because the delay in the chat and everything. So one, I think Gravy 2007 says, will we get better governor tools? For example, finer tooled taxes and the ability to take the money into a governor bank and not have to dilute it to the corporations.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about that, I don't know, a week or two ago. So what we want to have is a really an accounting system for the governor. So there's like every company has its accounting, and the governor or the office of the governor should have an accounting system as well. So the governor can, for example, take that money out of the system and buy stuff for he needs to run his operation, or he could take it out of the account and pay a share to his corporation. But we really want to have like a paper trail, so an account would these balance changes would be visible in the accounting system, and the next governor would obviously see what was going on. And yeah, I think that could be implemented in the future. And the same goes for corporations; they should have proper accounting as well.
Maybe because we're here at a live stream event and people want to have exclusive tidbits. Maybe a little bit of background on this. When we started working on Prosperous Universe, the idea for how government works was quite different to what it actually evolved into. So the original idea was that there is going to be infrastructure on the planets, but this infrastructure has to be built and maintained by corporations, and that this is an all or nothing thing. So Corporation A would operate the infrastructure on a given planet. And then if they lose that infrastructure to another corporation in whatever way, like there were ideas about military conflicts in the past, and there's all kinds of other ways to take over the infrastructure from another corporation, then the next corporation would be in charge of running that infrastructure. And as we all know, we kind of moved away from that idea and went more to public infrastructure that everyone can contribute to. And now we kind of, the pendulum is going back into the other direction, more in the middle between the two, where we again want some kind of government in between, but that's not tied necessarily to corporations. And I guess that's where the development is going towards in the future. So we're probably going to add more, I mean, as Michi already said, more classic government features that are neither player specific nor corporation specific or anything.
Cool. Let's see. Any ideas on letting people sell exploration info that might make people greedy with sharing too much too fast? Drakem asks.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if you know where the big rock of gold is, why not sell that information if you don't have the equipment to explore it?
Just among us people, Michi has been nagging me about these features since we started working on this project. So,
which is now almost 5 years ago.
That's why I will never ever let him implement it, because the moment it's implemented, he's probably gonna leave. So let's not implement information trading anytime soon.
Goal accomplished. Goodbye, Martin.
Let's see.
Private projects, I would love to offer my own warehouse or exchange, says Drakim. Well, I didn't want to go that far. I mean, actually, it's a good point to bring up, because I mean, obviously, in the past, what we already also envisioned was that commodity exchanges are, after all, infrastructure as well. And in the old concept, the commodity exchange would have been infrastructure operated and built by a corporation as well. And that is not really something that I think we're going for anymore. I don't know, Michi, are we?
I mean, we do want to have player-built commodity exchanges,
Yes.
But it's not clear yet who's going to run them. Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, commodity exchanges are a bit different from our, from say the Center of Global Commerce and stuff like that. That they are not planetary projects.
No.
In that sense, they live somewhere else anyway. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But there's definitely going to be somewhat privately built and or influenced commodity exchanges at some point.
No.
Because I guess we all agree that a commodity exchange is the one thing that makes a regular world a hub world. Like,
no.
The moment it has a commodity exchange, it's among the big players.
Okay, let's see. So we've been streaming for about 30 minutes. So do we want to talk a little bit about the next release?
The next release. Okay, the very next release is going to be a maintenance release, as always. Like, there are heaps and piles of bugs that need fixing. And actually, I'm going to start looking into that next week and the week after. And there might be a quality of life improvement in there, but we haven't decided on which one it's going to be. But I think we can tease the two candidates, right? It's either going to be some kind of, I don't know what, maybe a building that increases the queue size, or it's going to be the repair function. We have yet to decide, or maybe both, but no promises as always. But I wanted to implement one of the two.
Great. Fabian, do you want to talk about shipping ships?
Shipbuilding, you mean?
Shipbuilding.
Yeah, the next big update, the core feature is that you're going to be able to build more ships, and you're going to do that in huge shipyards that will be placed somewhere in the universe. Not randomly this time, I guess.
Only on Katoa.
That would be nice.
That's a nice balancing measure. Yeah, no, but you will be able to build ships, and you will actually be able to design your own ship blueprints from a whole selection of options, and you can switch out your engine or your cargo base or fuel tanks, and your FTL reactor. Of course, you can even have no FTL reactor and just have a huge intra-system flying warehouse that's going around. So yeah, there will be quite a lot of options, and you can do budget ships, you can do very high-end ships that will be able to go faster than other ships and carry more stuff, and yeah, but you will also have to pay more, of course. Like the range of complexity you have to put into those ships is like pretty wide, and I think it's something that players have been looking forward to for a long time, and yeah, we're trying to make it as cool as possible on the first go.
Cool. Okay, so we have some questions about ships. So let's see. If the shipyards are the places where we build ships, does that mean ships without FTL is a no-go, since they wouldn't be able to leave the shipyard system? It's from Draco.
So for the next release, a ship without an FTL drive is probably going to be a rare sight. We will place some shipyards, not randomly in the universe, but at some places. And for the release, we don't plan that players can build shipyards on their own. So it would be limited to those systems only. And I think I pitched the idea to the team that we kind of need some, for this very purpose, some kind of tug ship. Tug, is that a word? Like tugging another boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
Okay.
I think ships over the long distance, you can actually have a ship that carries ships. Isn't there this meme of ships carrying ships carrying ships?
Yeah. Tugboat. Thanks. Yeah, that's the right word. Yeah, we would need a system like that, but we want to, as always, we want to keep it simple for the release, and hopefully we will see the shipbuilding release this year. So there won't be any tugboats yet. No.
Okay. And let's see what there was another question about the okay. Can ships be changed once they're built, or will they be stuck in their first design forever?
I think initially they will be stuck at their design. We also, I mean, obviously the fact that you can actually build your own or design your own ships is something that landed in this release plan rather late, because we always wanted to have a ship editor where you can actually build your own ships, which we postponed because of its complexity. But at the end of the day, it turned out that we could at least allow for some customization. It's not going to be a visual editor, but you're just going to select the components. But the blueprints themselves is something that we would like to emphasize going forward, I think. So the vision is that at some point in the future, and obviously as everything else in Prosperous Universe, shipbuilding is pretty much guaranteed to become more and more complex over time. The idea is that there's going to be people who kind of specialize in shipbuilding and ship design, and they just want to have their blueprints seen. So maybe at some point in the future, you see a ship flying around the universe, and you'll click it, and you see that it's a design by, I don't know, universal exports, ship design, whatever. And making the designs changeable would kind of defeat that purpose, I think. So, and also as buildings, ships will eventually get written off and lose their value. So if you have a ship that you don't like or a ship design that doesn't work for you, you just have to kind of live with the fact, either sell it or use it until it's worthless and then scrap it or whatever. But I don't think we're going to do mutable ship designs.
Will you be able to sell ships to other players? Justin asks.
Eventually, yes.
Probably not in 2020, but
Yeah.
at some point, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do we want to reveal the name
Do we want to reveal the name
of the
Next release.
of the shipbuilding release?
Why not?
Trains? Who's talking about trains?
Trains.
Is that a name suggestion for the update?
I have no idea.
So
Okay, so like drum roll. Oh, your microphone appears to be noisy.
yeah, it always says that. I don't know why. Space trains. Someone wants space trains.
I think no one cares about the name of the next release. Look at them. They're just
One
talking about
person
trains.
says yes, but I don't know if they're saying yes so they want to know the name or just yes in general.
I think they say yes because the person before
Trains,
said
yes.
trains.
Okay.
I guess the name.
Okay. Someone says give us the name. Yes, reveal.
Somebody has to do it.
It's the name reveal party. So the name of the next release is going to be Ignition. Who came up with that name, by the way?
Icarus.
We voted on that, right?
Yeah.
But someone suggested it.
It was Michi, I think, wasn't it?
Ignition. Yeah, I think it's a very fitting name. Makes a lot of sense. There's a lot more hidden meaning to that, but we'll see.
There's another question. Is it the intention that ship blueprints themselves are a tradable item? No, we don't want to copy every single aspect of EVE Online. No, for the time being, not.
You could, of course, sell the recipe on eBay, I guess, but I'm not sure whether our terms and conditions allow that, actually. We could just lose the whole trains idea. We're not doing trains.
Yeah, people are caught up.
I think if our planetary infrastructure has reached a complexity level that involves trains, then we've been running this game for 15 plus years. Although I could imagine it, having actual infrastructure on planets, visible, connected, spatial and stuff.
Well, there's one question for Fabian from Rubicade. How big can you make the cargo ships? Is there any limitation in the current design?
There is. I mean, it's not 100% set in stone yet, but at least multiple thousand tons and like it will be like a almost like a base cargo space, I think.
Nice.
So you can make huge ships, but you should be aware that the hull plates you need to provide, and if you want heat shielding and stuff, then that will all raise itself with bigger ships. So if you have a really big cargo space, you also will have to invest a lot more to get this thing put together.
And Peter Pan said. Did I understand you correctly that ships will not be repairable? No, that was not what Martin meant. He meant in an accounting way, the ship will get written off, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to our production facilities where currently they get written off and at some point you have to replace them, but there is going to be a repair feature at some point. I think what we meant earlier was that if you have a design that you cannot change and you're not interested in that chip anymore, then you will probably use it until it's worthless from an accounting point of view and then get rid of it instead of maintaining it, for example.
Let's see. MJK Viper asks, what was the intention of putting Populous ahead of shipbuilding?
I mean, I don't know. We were pretty much undecided for quite some time, right? Like the shipbuilding is very important. Was clear, or is clear that it's something that we want, but at the same time, we wanted to make it a bit more, meaningful. In a sense, the absence of shipbuilding means that new players have a whole new market, which is transport. And I think it just made more sense for us to first provide a bit more incentive for people to go out into the universe, to actually control planets, to build them up, and to make the supply chains bigger and longer and more complex. Because obviously, transport demand is a function of that in some sense. So I think when the shipbuilding feature lands, it's really going to be desperately needed.
Let's see. Okay. How do you think, or this is Rain9441, how do you think ships will change gameplay experience and the economy of the universe upon completion?
Like always, everything will crash, right? And then bound back. No. I mean, your guess is probably as good as ours, right?
I'm not sure yet. Me personally, I didn't expect, for example, that people would build like 30 bases plus, or even 20 or 10 bases plus. And with the shipbuilding or the accessibility to more ships, I would expect that we see more growth in terms of the number of bases, because it gets easier to manage them. It's always easier to ship things yourself than relying on others doing it. And of course, we will see that maybe I'm not sure that the shipping ads will go down but then again, maybe not. Maybe the starter ships are. I don't know how to put this. Maybe there will be a market for really fast, small ships, for example, like Sprinter. Like you just want to move 10 or 20 tons of goods that are, for example, very pricey, or you need them very fast, and player will specialize on that and have a small fleet of very fast ships, and other players will rely on that. So maybe it's not the end of the shipping ad per se.
Okay, this is an interesting question from That Psychotic. How about things like space elevators or orbital stations or other ways to save fuel and conduct business in locations other than the planet's surface?
That's something we want to implement for a long time now, and eventually we will, but we're just limited by our programming power. I don't know.
Fairy dust.
Yeah. Go ahead.
One idea we always had is that we want to have ships that can't land on planets because they're too big. Like the ship Fabian was talking about that weighs multiple thousands of tons, that can't realistically land on a planet with a high gravity or on a planet at all. So there will be a need for infrastructure where you can dock in orbit and someone will just take all your cargo and transport it down to the surface to sell it there. And that could be another player, that could be an infrastructure thing, space elevator, or orbital ships that just go from orbit to the planet. Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless, and at some point we will implement that, but there are no concrete plans at the moment.
Okay. Rubicate again asks, let's see, I've gathered that ships will be very expensive. Will newbies face the danger of their starting ships being useless long before they can afford new ones?
Hopefully not. I mean, there's a wide range of how much ship costs depending on what you design, and I think it'll depend on how quickly you grow. Of course, if you grow very slowly, then you also maybe don't need another ship that quickly. So it's fine if you get it a bit later, and if you grow quickly and know the game and play very efficiently, then you will get to the point earlier where you can afford at least another starting level ship, and then everything else is like pretty granular steps up the ladder, basically, because you can add features the way you want or focus just on one aspect like cargo space, and yeah, you'll have options to play around there.
Maybe that's also something that that ties into the question that was asked earlier about how shipping influences the game. I could I mean, ideally, what I would, my dream of what would happen is that shipping is an industry like any other in the game, and that there's just going to be a high degree of specialization. So why, maybe up to the point that if their ship is falling apart and it's not really efficient to run it anymore, that they would just say, okay, you know what, I'm not shipping that stuff myself at all. I'm just going to use transport services by other players who maybe, instead of producing goods or exploiting resources, just focus on shipping. Obviously, that will require some more, I guess, helper functions or features in the game that make shipping a bit more comfortable. But in the long run, I could imagine that being a thing. Fabian and Michi are suffering silently.
Yeah, sorry, there's a lot of questions that came in, so I'm trying to read through them all. Let's see. Let's go with Peter Pan's. Will there always be a market maker or market makers, buyers, in order to provide liquidity to the monetary system? Or are there plans to move to a system with some central instance controlling the currency volumes?
I mean, the central instance is Michi, right?
What?
He's the one printing the money. No. I don't think we have really decided on that, have we?
No, there hasn't been any decision.
To be honest, liquidity hasn't really been that much of a problem so far. I think in previous alpha tests, we had a bit of a deflation issue sometimes. But in this world, I don't get the feeling that we have an inflation or deflation issue. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Do we?
I don't think so. At the moment, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. DJ Mater asks about dynamic market makers, and that's a discussion we have had several times in the past. And the reason why we are stuck with a very static market makers is because they're not gameable at all, or at least not as much as a dynamic market maker. We have looked into several concepts how a dynamic market maker could look like. but usually it gets complex very fast, and there's always the possibility of some player abusing the system. And so we decided to keep the market makers for now as they are.
There's a question about ads, so I guess that's for me.
Finally,
so, yeah.
have more questions for Nick.
Okay. Yeah, so let's see. Matt asked, what's the current lifespan of new players after clicking on an ad? So we can see like when a person like becomes like a pro license player. So we do have some of those already that have come into the game and are staying. But yeah, we don't have like, you know, we've only been running ads for like 3 weeks or so. So it's like really hard to like give you like a concrete number, but yeah, we're definitely in the optimization mode right now. Nothing is like set in stone as far as like our ads are wonderful or they're terrible. We're just, you know, figuring them out right now. So that's what's going on with ads.
Any chance of getting some sort of leaderboard in the future? Asked by someone who calls himself Mr. Awesome.
No, I think it's Mr. All One.
All One. Okay. Well, leaderboards, not a leaderboard per se, I guess. But I mean, some kind of statistic. I can see myself adding that to the game to have different reports on kind of who's the biggest. I don't know, steel producer in sector whatever, but there's not going to be like a scored leaderboard or anything. What do you want to rate a player by in a sandbox game? It's like it's not really something we do, I think.
Let's see. Oh, we're getting a lot of questions now. Let's see. Rurikate wants to know why you can't make your own private currency yet.
Yes. You know what? Like we have plans for this, of course, but obviously you cannot do own private currencies these days without a blockchain. So we're just waiting for that to get implemented. Then.
No, we need someone with blockchain experience in the team.
Yeah. Just to make sure I was kidding, right? I mean, I don't know if the sarcasm tag was like visible around me, but no own currencies anytime soon. Use some commodity to trade with. Then you have your own currency. But that would mean we need barter contracts, right?
No, in a way.
Kerfimon, I'm not sure how to say that word, but asked, will there be a transport starter package at some point, like Farmer and the others?
Yeah, probably. If we are going to have ships that can be of different sizes and shapes, there will be a transport starter page for sure. A starter package, sorry. Yeah.
Do you guys track aggregate player behavior? On one of the dev blogs, it would be great to see statistics in terms of histogram of numbers of bases per player, etc. Yes, we do. Like we do track player behavior on an event basis, so to speak. Like if something important happens in the lifetime of a player, then we track an event. Sometimes we track it several times. And we could probably generate some events or some statistics from that. We obviously do in the background to see where we are. But sooner or later, at some point in the future, after my long-promised architecture live stream, maybe we can do a statistics issue.
Let's see, some more. Terraforming, was that ever something that was thought of?
2025. No, 2035. I think that's on the roadmap.
2045. There's your answer. Okay.
It almost was a populous thing. No, not almost. But it was an idea of, for the life support need, that you could, in theory, in the future, at some point, have to terraform a planet to make it habitable. But for now, we just went with the simpler solution, which was just, if you have more habitations than you have people, then you have the life support. If your people go above the habitation space, then you need to build more habitations.
I mean, terraforming is definitely something that comes up if and when we talk about end game content, obviously. Like if players have been playing for years, what else is there that they can do? And you need massive projects that you can sink resources into, then obviously terraforming is in our universe is a natural thing. If Prosperous Universe is around long enough, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen at some point. But mega structures and mega projects are not something that we're doing yet.
And 100 years later, our children will offer a new feature for Dyson spheres and stuff like that.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about it, even if you wanted to add a space station feature and you want to make it realistic, that's already going to be a massive undertaking. So.
Let's see.
I think there were a few questions about contracts. There's one about the multi-conditional contract system. I think we've touched on this before, right? But I think the general idea is that at some point, I mean, at the moment, contracts are limited by how they get created, and that's because they're only created through the local markets, where we have very narrowly defined types of ads or contracts that are possible. But I think at some point in the future, we always wanted to create a completely dynamic contract system where you can basically click together a custom contract with whichever conditions you want, including, of course, a contract that has more than one material or whatever. But the local markets are intentionally kept simple. Like they're a bulletin board and they are very, very simple ads, because obviously it becomes quite a bit more complex quickly if you make them really dynamic, or you suddenly have shopping lists of 25 items in a single ad or whatever. I don't think that's what we want to have. Right, team?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Let's see. We have a question from That Psychotic Wood about multi-user inventories. For example, can share a warehouse with one or more other players to easily transfer goods in a collaborative setting.
Martin's nightmare.
That's not true. Why is it my nightmare? I was actually contemplating whether I should mention ports earlier, because when we talked about the last mile from orbit to planet surface, I mean, the natural thing that happens if you don't offer any kind of special infrastructure is kind of a port station.
Mm-hmm.
And what is a port? What other thing is a port than a kind of a shared warehouse? But like actual shared warehouses, we do not have yet, for the simple and obvious reason that we don't have private contracts yet or direct money transfers. They're just kind of a huge blinking invite to misuse the game. Like it would of course allow you to transfer arbitrary amounts of material from one account to another, and that's always a bit of an issue.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean we won't add them at some point. Like it's definitely something that we've talked about before. I think there was an idea to have that as a kind of a corporation structure to give a bit more meaning to corporations, that they could build their own shared warehouses or something like that. Yeah, what Matt Clermont said. Hope I said that right.
Let's see. All right. So it's 8 o'clock here in Germany. We've been streaming for an hour. Any other final questions or any final comments about Populous or Ignition?
Or anything else?
In general, yeah.
You have a few more minutes. Here, Brent Lavelle. Any thoughts about automation like supply runs for ships to bases that do not have a market? I don't know. At some point, I want to have something like that, like actual scheduled. I mean, some who might not know, but the other game that Simulogix does is Airline Sim. So kind of having scheduled transport services is kind of my thing. And I would love to see that in Prosperous Universe for all kinds of reasons, I think, which I already discussed on live streams before. But obviously, it comes with a whole bunch of complexity, especially in a dynamic setting like Prosperous Universe. So at some point, yes, but might take a moment until that happens.
An API for automation. That would be awesome. As a developer speaking, of course.
I mean, API is on our official roadmap, I think. Is it? I think it is.
It is, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the last features on the official public roadmap. And
Yeah. MTK Viper asks if we could provide more information about certain things in the game, like I don't know if you know about the EVE market report that comes out once a month or so. That's something I can imagine for Prosperous Universe as well. Like, for example, how much material or electronics have been produced in this and that region. That would probably be very useful information, and maybe we even can include that into the game's map, and not just provide it as a report, but as an in-game service.
maybe this is a good idea to plug our sponsor tonight, which of course is you. I think EVE Online has economists working on those reports, and unless we can hire an economist, we cannot provide those reports naturally. So that means you have to buy more subscriptions. I was only half joking. No, I mean, in all seriousness, it's like with any other feature. At some point, someone has to do it or implement it. And obviously, with an economic sandbox like ours, we definitely want to have fancy, good-looking, elaborate reports. But yeah, have to generate them first.
Yeah, airlines and subscriptions also help, of course.
Yes, just buy them credits.
You don't even have to use them.
Yeah, you just buy them. You know, just pile them in your unlimited warehouse of credits. What else is there?
Goodbye, Kostner. Nice to see you again.
Oh yeah, Castino. That's the name that I haven't read in a while, I think. Not consciously, anyway. Okay. Reading questions. Oh yes, thanks, Peter Pan. Glad you enjoyed the game. Pipe the info into Elasticsearch and let us write the Kibana for it. Nerd. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we do already, in a sense. but some kind of filter would be required, obviously. So we haven't really discussed yet how reporting or statistics infrastructure that is actually usable for the public could look like. We'll get around to it at some point. Any thoughts on inviting more people into the test environment? I mean, what do you mean, Matt? Like, do you mean us inviting more players or you inviting more planets? Both is possible and actually done. So please go ahead and tell your friends.
The more the merrier.
Yes. Like, our game really lives because of the interactions of its players. Like, no matter what we do, if there's no one playing, nothing's happening. So the more players, the better. Good question. Let's say I have 500 airlines in credits. Will we be able to transfer it to Prosperous Universe credits? I'm afraid not, because they're completely separate payment systems and not payment systems, but they're like the subscriptions for Prosperous Universe will work differently than for airlines at some point.
All right.
Okay.
Is there any questions we've missed? I don't think so.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we're pretty good for today then. So we'll just wind it down then. Thanks to everybody for coming out and chatting with us. And we really hope you guys like Populous. I mean, we've been working on it pretty hardcore for a while. So enjoy it and see you in Discord. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.